Hey, real quick, one of them is Sandpaper and Prep. Uh, with the system I use to do body work, especially on a restoration, I do it on everything, but on a restoration, you're gonna go through 100 to 200 sheets of sandpaper minimum. Okay, one of you guys will go, oh, there's no way you use the sandpaper for like 3 minutes. Let me tell you why, and I'll go over a couple things real quick on the type of sandpaper that's out there that you can get. There's 3M who makes really good sandpaper, and it costs a lot of money. It does last longer than the others, so a lot of body shops will use only the 3M products because the time it takes to take that paper off and put another one on adds up during the day. So when they're doing that high of a volume, it sometimes pays off to use that higher end sandpaper. But I don't use it because I find that the Mirka stuff is almost as good. So here's the Mirka Gold. Okay, this is like a premium paper. This will last you a lot longer than the Mirka base cut, which is blue. Okay, but then they have these other ones like this one here is Smart. They have this at and it actually lasts about as long as the Mirka Gold, and it's about the same price as the base cut. So I've been using it sometimes. Depends on what I can get. And then this is the cheap stuff. Okay, this is open grain, 150, no name. Works great for about a minute. Now, maybe a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. So you blow through a lot more of those than you do the others. So this might last, say, 2 minutes, and this one lasts a minute and a half, and this one lasts, a minute. So you end up paying for it either way almost. You end up going through more paper that way. But the reason why you want to go through, and I'm going to show you real quick, my prep system is like this. I do my Bondo, and I primer, and I use guide coat, which you see here. This is just like this black mist I put over. It's just a spray can. You just spray it over it real lightly. And the guide coat will tell you where all the low spots are in your work. So you can do it with just using the Bondo and trying to do as much as you can with that. What happens is Bondo does not spread as nice and easy as the polyester glazing. So you're sitting there fighting the spread, and then it doesn't go on as smooth, doesn't and then you're wasting time trying to you're doing 2-3 things that you don't need to do. One thing is you're feeling their work. You're trying to, okay, that's the low spot right there, and then you go make your stuff up, and you come back, oh, where was that low spot? Was it over here? No, it's right here. No, but with the guide coat, you'll have a nice black spot that you can see, like right there is a little bit low. You'll see that black spot, and then you can just throw your stuff over it. So you're not wasting as much time looking for it. It spreads easier and faster, and it sands better than Bondo. Because Bondo, for some reason, it likes to sand a little bit moundy. And the reason that is a couple things. And the same thing will happen with your glazing if you don't have sharp sandpaper. If you don't replace your sandpaper all the time, you're trying to stretch your sheet out, what happens is it doesn't want to cut into the filler. It doesn't want to cut into the primer. So what happens is it mounds over it, so you get waves everywhere. You get waves from the sandpaper not being sharp. So as soon as that sandpaper starts to lose its cut, you're talking about, like I said, a minute, 30 seconds, not very long, toss it. Get rid of it. Because all you're doing is you're polishing it. If you're polishing it, it finds everything and it doesn't cut it. You need it to cut into it to get it to go into the work. So this is kind of what I'm just going to do, a two-purpose video, sandpaper, and then I'm going to show you kind of where we're at right now on the 61. I've done all the Bondo. I went through and I used this. This actually is not too bad of a surfacer. It does load up on your sandpaper if you don't let it dry over 3 days. this primer is that epoxy primer. I don't usually use it, but I thought I might have to leave this outside. I may not have to. I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and not use it from now on. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to probably to the other primer. I'm not going to use polyester either, I don't think. Depends on how straight it is. If it's not, if I think I need a lot more fill, then I'm going to use polyester. Like these fenders here, almost perfectly straight. And the back fenders are a little worse. Of course, they had a lot of dings in them. This deck lid was really bad. I mean, look at all the glazing on that. And plus, I had filler all over it too. So, I mean, man, that thing was just, I was telling you guys, hey, that thing's going to be really tough to fix. The roof wasn't bad at all. There was only a couple low spots. So, and it feels pretty nice. So, using that guide coat saves you just a lot of time. And if you do your body work this way, as long as it's sanded where you put your filler, it will stay. You use the glazing. Don't use Bondo over primer. Use the glazing, polyester glazing. There's a couple different ones. I have them on another video. Use that, and it'll save you a ton of time. So literally, like a bodywork job on a restoration would take you weeks and weeks to do, or you could do it in a week or something like that, maybe a week and a half, depending on the time you have to spend on it. So, but that's how much glazing I had to put on, and tap down a couple high spots that I found that were really easy to find because they just go, you sand it and just whoop, there's a high spot. Just knock it down and then maybe refill over it. Probably going to get the hood done. And then I got to strip this door still. The doors ended up, the right door has a lot of filler in it. This is how much glazing on this back fender, so you can get an idea. Look at that. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff that I couldn't, it was just too hard to, in fact, I had filler over these and it just sanded right off. And that's why you have to use the coarser grit with the Bondo, because the coarser grit, Bondo will do the same thing. You need it to cut into the Bondo, not mound over it. So if your paper gets dull and then you're trying to sand your Bondo or or anything, if you're sanding with dull paper, it's just going to come out lumpy looking. It's going to come out, it's going to come out like, what it does is it just kind of follows whatever's there. So that's where you see these Bondo mountains and the edges of the Bondo where it's like you can see mapping around it, where there's mapping is like there's Bondo right here, okay? You can see the edge of it right around here because the primer hasn't been sanded. Once it's got the second coat of primer on it, you won't see that. So you'll see that map around it, but it'll be kind of a mountain when you don't have sharp paper. So don't try and save money on sandpaper. You're just plan on just going through 2 or 3 rolls of sandpaper. It depends on how you buy it. If you buy it hook loop, it's going to last a little bit longer. It's a lot easier to change, and so the hook loop is the way to go. And you can switch back and forth. Like if you can go to 150, then go to 220 real quick if you had something you want to do, and just and then use the 150 again. But usually it's done. Usually after about a minute, you should just toss it. Just work the cut out of it. As soon as the cut's gone, throw it away. Now, if you're willing to spend the money, the 3M is really good, and so is Norton is really good. But I don't know. I've had just as much luck with Mirka. Mirka's stuff is just as good, and this Smart stuff is actually, they have this over at what's it called? Drew Carriage. I think this is where I got this. I'm not sure. I think it's Drew Carriage, and it's not bad. It's actually probably as good as anything I've used. So I haven't used that much of it yet though, so I won't know till you use a lot of it. Till you go through a whole box and you go, oh man, that stuff sucks. Anyway, all right, so that's sandpaper.